You're too late. I've already summoned meteor. Okay, let's...
What is up, everyone? Welcome to L2R2 PlayStation Podcast. My name's Fonzie, joined by my co-host, Callum Monroe from across the pond. Callum, the ambassador for Lord of the Rings, the official nerd for Lord of the Rings. How are you doing?
Again, I like that title.
It's been just 1 week since we talked, not 3 months since last time.
Yeah, I've been good. Like I said to you before, I've fixed my PC and got new internet, so I'm feeling very, very technologically advanced.
Nice. You know what? I just this last week I was able to secure a 3080, so I'm going to be selling my 3070 to actually try and pay for this 3080 that's coming. But I'm moving on up, trying to, for whatever reason, I don't play a lot of PC games, but I'm also obsessed with trying to get the best stuff. But I'm pretty stoked for that to arrive.
Wow, yeah, I mean that's it's pretty impressive that you're able to find one. But yeah, that's going to be pretty crazy.
Yeah, it was through, I don't know if Newegg, the website is big in the UK, but it was through them. They have this shuffle thing, and I just jump in they have it every weekday where you can, it's like a lottery, so you can get the chance to buy something, buy whatever graphics card or whatever. So I finally got in there and bought it, and yeah, I'm pretty stoked.
How much was it like a kind of premium price because of the stock, or was it at its retail price?
Well, let's not talk about how much it was. It's definitely more expensive than it should be, and it sucks. And the only way
is that because your wife's in the room?
She'll eventually find out, but yeah, it is very expensive. But I'm able to sell the one that I have on eBay like a piece of garbage, but it's the only way to pay for the thing. But I'm also not like raising the price to something crazy. It's just like whatever the current thing is. But yeah, with Newegg, they're still it's more expensive, but still cheaper than going on eBay. So there is that, and they do a lot of stuff where they throw in. It's not just the card; like you have to buy a motherboard or a SSD, so it raises up the price more. But then I guess you could sell that stuff. But mine came with an SSD, which I'll use. Maybe I'll try and use it on the PS5. I think it's a faster one. So yeah, it ends up being more expensive than it is, but it's also like one of the only ways to get these things at a somewhat normal price.
Yeah, I think it was the same with the PlayStation, wasn't it? Whereas some places would only sell them in bundles, but I mean, yeah, you're paying more, but you're at least getting everything, for the correct price. Because a lot of these places will sell you just the graphics card for even like not on eBay, actual proper, companies will sell you just the graphics card for the price of a graphics card and an SSD anyway. Right. So yeah, they're probably the best ones to look out for, I'd imagine.
Yeah. Now, Callum, before we get into some of the stuff we've been playing and whatnot, Megan and I, my wife, were talking about some stuff we had read online about high school reunions, and I guess the UK doesn't have them. So I want to have at least every week ask you some kind of random question about the UK so you can fill me in. Does the UK have high school reunions? What about high school graduations?
So the best thing to do here is to basically let you know how high school, the word high school is different over here. And in fact, it's different even in different parts of the UK, to be honest. But in general, so high school to you guys is what's known to us as college. So I don't know whether is high school optional for you guys?
No, for some, but it's like you have to at least get to like a graduation point of high school. But the grade equivalent would be like 12th grade, and then college is the thing that people go to or don't.
Yeah. So as far as I'm aware, high school to us is like what we call sixth form or college. So it's basically like a couple of years additional education, and then after that we would go to university, which is what you guys call college.
Gotcha. Yeah. That makes sense.
So, but yeah, so we don't. I mean, we technically we graduate from college or high school or whatever, but we don't throw like a party, like you guys do. But we do for university. So when you graduate at like what is it, like 21, 22, or however many years your course goes on for. So yeah, I think we're a lot more reserved in general school wise, you know, in terms of celebrating and
Do you guys
things
not
like
throw the
that.
hats? Like we do that thing where you throw the hats in the air and it's a big deal.
Yeah, I think they do again with university. After
Okay.
like you get sort of like your university degree, but I wasn't smart enough to go to university, unfortunately. So I don't know for sure, but yeah, I know that, you know, with the hats and the, you know, the black, you know, cloaky
Yeah.
things, everything like that. Yeah, that definitely happens when you graduate from university. But that's the only time. You know, once we finish college, we're just like signing yearbooks and signing shirts and, you know, think the stupid stuff like that. But yeah, I know that I think that where it maybe does the two do cross over is perhaps for really young kids. I think we see sometimes like kids having little like ceremonies when they like pass like year one, which would be like what would that be for you? Maybe kindergarten or
Sure.
first or something. But I think that's kind of frowned upon by the general UK public, just because we find everything like cringy and
Yeah.
weird. So
You guys are no fun, man. We just celebrating everything
yeah.
for
So
no
yeah,
reason.
we only celebrate after university, and even then it's very, you know, very proper and very like families and yeah, very you know, pretty laid back from what I've seen anyway. But yeah, I think similar in ways, but perhaps a bit more a bit less over here, which is probably could be said for quite a few other things.
That makes sense that you're celebrating something worthwhile, because with high school, it's like, it's kind of the bare minimum thing. But so it totally makes sense that you're actually celebrating you getting actually, you know, on your way to get a job and actually a career and stuff. So that makes sense. But what about reunions, high school, or I guess the college reunions? Is that maybe more common?
Yeah. Oh yeah. So yeah. Sorry, reunion. So I don't know, to be honest. I can't say that I would expect it to happen for where I went to school, just
Mm,
because. Um, and I mean, I imagine if it's my experience, it'd be the same for you know, at least some people. But I think when you leave school, you kind of are, you know, the friends you have, like and I don't mean like, you know, you might be popular at school and you might be, you know, on friendly terms with everybody, but I think
I was not.
you end up only being friends with, you know, a few people, and then the rest of them you're just kind of excited to not see again. So
Yep.
again, I think it's a very British thing where you're just kind of like not bothered about other people as much sometimes. So yeah, I mean, I could be completely wrong, and you know, in a few years' time, I might get a weird invite to some reunion, which I would definitely not go to.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that is definitely an American thing. I mean, especially when you see that in like films and TVs, you never see UK school reunions
True.
or anything like that. So yeah, I don't know. I think it might just be the kind of, I guess in America you guys are a lot more, you know, in a good way, very like happy-go-lucky, very, you know, school fits with like I guess American culture in the way that you can go out and do anything you want, and things like that. Whereas school in the UK is very, for a lot of people, very grim and very, you know, the worst thing ever, really.
It's
It's
like that here
very,
too.
oh yeah. I mean from like a point of it's very glum and strict and you know, if you saw the cafeterias in the UK compared to the, because I should say I did do a year of school in the States as well, so I guess I kind of have a little bit of a comparison, and from that experience, and I know it wouldn't be the same for everyone, but it's definitely a lot yeah, a lot happier in terms of like the yeah, you could achieve this and you can do that. In the UK it's very much like you have to be exactly on time, you have to tuck your shirt in, have your top button done up, and you know, it's just very proper and
Yeah.
in that regard. And I think because of that, people just don't like the idea of thinking about school ever again. Whereas I think, and I'm sure that there's places like that in the States as well, but
With-
but yeah, it's not really something
I
that
think I
I've ever
lost
seen.
your audio for a second, Callum.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Maybe you muted yourself. Maybe I muted you. Let me check. You might be able to hear me, but I can't hear you. So let me, but it just happened all of a sudden.
That's strange. I can hear you.
Okay,
what
I
about...
can hear you now.
Oh, cool. Okay, cool.
I don't know what that was, but I just lost the last little second of what you're talking
No,
about.
it was good, to be honest. I probably could have stopped then anyway. I was just going on. So,
well, like you touch on a lot of the same feelings we have here, but it's just for some reason we're not forced, but for some reason we still have this idea of meeting up again for reunions. But it's like, just like you're talking about, it's like I don't want to see these people again. I don't want to talk to them, and I might bump into them too. But it's like I don't want to gather every 10 years to go see them. But it is a thing here for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, it might just be, exactly that. It might just be that it was a thing, so now it continues to be a thing. And but yeah, for me, you see it a lot in like pop culture, which is I'd say like predominantly American as well. Like in films and series, there's a lot of like high school reunions and things like that. And yeah, it's not something I've ever seen in the UK. So, but I could be completely wrong. What do I know? I've only been to a set amount of schools. So
yeah, you just went to elementary school, right? And then back in the workforce.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Did a year and then lived on the streets.
Look at you. You got fast internet now. You're doing well.
Yeah, exactly.
When you did work or at work, when you went to school here in the States, was it a weird culture shock? Was it, anything to get used to, or were you with other UK kids when you came over too?
No, so it was just I think I was the only English person or British person in the school. I mean, I'm sure that there could have been more, but I never met them, and I was certainly treated like in a good way, but definitely someone who doesn't belong there. Like, I know it sounds really like negative, but it definitely wasn't. But yeah, it was very different. Very different in the way that in what you learn about. History is very much based around America, and it's very just simple things like I remember having to go out at the beginning of every day and do the whole I pledge allegiance and all of that kind of thing. And yeah, it's very different. But there's, in terms of like the actual academic, the way classes are taught, I can't really remember too much. But yeah, like I said earlier, the main thing I can remember is the cafeteria being far superior. There being like and this could just be me getting lucky, but there were things like burritos and pizzas and corn dogs, which we don't even have over here. And
what? You guys don't have corn dogs? Come on.
No. And so I think that just that alone is probably why we don't have school reunions, because we don't have those happy corn dog memories.
Yeah, that's what it was. Like, corn dog solves everything. Well, Cal, yeah, I was very interested to see that on, I think it was like a Reddit thread or something. It's like they don't have them. I was like, oh, weird. They're not forced to do that like we are. But,
yeah, it's not. It's definitely not something I've thought. It could also be because we don't technically have like a. I mean, we do have high school, but it normally goes from, because correct me if I'm wrong, but is it like up to 18 high school for you guys?
Yeah, that's roughly the age, 17, 18 when you graduate, and then college would be the next thing, but that's an optional,
So, I mean, but people leave school in the UK at 16, so it might be that, we're a bit younger when we stop seeing everybody, so it's kind of easier to just, let go. But I guess when you're 18, you're a bit more of an adult. These memories stick with you a bit longer. I can certainly remember much more of when I was 18 than when I was 16. I know it's only 2 years between, but there's a lot of kind of maturing and growing up you do in those 2 years. So it could be that you spend a lot more time as an adult with these people, whereas in the UK you do leave school when you're a child, and then people split off and go to college and things like that, or they don't go to college and go straight into work. So it might be to do with that on a more serious level, unrelated to corn dogs.
Yeah. Well, I was also reading like that tradition here is kind of dying as well, where, I mean, I'm not going to go if I get an email or a letter in the mail about it, but people are less likely to go, and they're less likely to have them just with social media, where you can still keep up if you want with people. So because that exists, people are just less likely to do it. And now you have your high school friends, you get to see them every day on social media, and they're their Omicron takes and their political takes. So it's great to just always hear whatever they have to say nonstop.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. Actually, I didn't even think about that. I think to think of like a world pre-social media, then that's probably where it stems more from people being, I guess, like nosy about what everyone's up to.
Yeah.
Whereas now we know we can know exactly what everybody's up to, unless they're smart and don't have social media. But yeah, and it's interesting as well because for me personally, being like 27 this year, it was. I social media started to become a thing whilst I was still at school. So towards the end of it, so it even was used during that as well. So that means that a lot of my friends list are probably still people who I went to school with, just because I've never gone through and like purged it, which I probably should.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's an interesting point as well.
Gotcha. Yeah. Interesting way of doing it over there. And I would prefer us going that route where we just don't communicate anymore with people from high school and whatnot. But as far as what you've been spending your time over there, I had a thing in the docket saying what we're playing, watching. I just saw something about The Expanse ending, and I know that's your jam, that's your show. Did you watch that? Have you been keeping up to date?
I didn't. I've seen the first 3, I believe, but I've been waiting to watch the rest with my flatmate who's just been away near you, actually, in Oregon and in Seattle.
Really?
So I've been waiting for him to get back before we finish that. So so I'm trying to avoid any possible spoilers or anything like that.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, it's a big show, and apparently the series is ending, right? Like this is it.
Yes, yeah. So it's even more like a kind of, and it's also like I've got these 3 episodes left to watch, so I don't mind delaying it because as soon as I've watched them, then that's it, and that'll be sad. And also, it's always the end of a series where it's more likely that they're gonna fuck it up and do something rubbish.
Exactly. Well, besides not watching Expanse, have you been watching anything, playing anything?
What have I been watching? So I said to you, I watched the new Resident Evil film today. I've been watching actually a lot of World War II in color, the documentaries on Netflix, which has been really enjoyable. But yeah, other than that, I haven't really been watching much. But I have been playing. I finished Mass Effect, the first one, the Legendary Edition. Haven't started the second one yet, but yeah, finished that and excited to see how the second one is on this kind of remastered collection.
Yeah, I was telling you, so I started the first Mass Effect from the Legendary Edition edition, and I need to spend some more time with it because at the beginning I'm just not. It's hard for me to care about what's going on for some reason. They're talking about stuff and the Mass Effect relays and these aliens, and I just kind of doze off. And I know if I keep going, I would establish that that connection and care about this world. So it's too early to make any judgment, but it's just, I wish it grabbed me a bit more, but I know it grabs everyone. So it's like, I got to keep going with it. But I know you love that series, but you completed the first one. And how does it hold up? How does it hold up rather with this Legendary Edition, making the changes to that first game?
Yeah, it's, I mean, as you know, I played I played all 3 of them for the first time not long ago at all. And really didn't enjoy my time with the first one originally. I like sped through it, to the point where like I lost a main character who was then not in the second and third game for me, and I just really didn't enjoy it. But the Legendary Edition is a massive improvement. It still has its moments. It still has the kind of boring side missions and everything like that, but the writing's always been top drawer. Like you said, you say it hasn't grabbed you. I think that's like completely a normal thing to happen. It can happen with anything. But yeah, like you said, it does really grab most people just because the writing is so good, and maybe it's even worth just taking some time to like read through the codex or anything like that. It's one game that I really do find myself just enjoying talking to everybody. I'll actually read the codex entries because they're all so well written, and it's just incredible from that point of view. So to get a kind of remaster that tightens up where it did lack in big ways, like the combat, like the UI, and some other things like that. It's really nice to be able to play it in that way. But yeah, it's I mean, some things are small as well, but they make a huge difference. I mean, things like just adding like hit markers, just to like make the combat feel a bit punchier and a bit less floaty, and yeah, changing the UI and everything. It just does make the game a lot more yeah, a lot nicer, and it looks great as well. I mean, the visual upgrades it's had, they're a little bit wonky in some of the like close-ups and some of the animations, but I think that's to be expected. And if you're a fan of BioWare games like Dragon Age, I think it almost is its own art style that you kind of come to expect from, you know, like Dragon Age Origins from like the similar time and things like that. But yeah, I just absolutely adored it. I'm just really glad that I was able to play it and enjoy it, so I could take my time a bit more and explore a bit more, and also having the understanding you have after playing 2 and 3 really enhances a lot of the story moments as well, because it is a really nicely told story across the 3 games. Very, you know, again, we were talking about Lord of the Rings before. There's very similar to Lord of the Rings, where each game has like a whole overarching story, which is really, really interesting, and you learn more and more about it as it goes on. But each game is also completely, you know, self-encapsulated and has its own arcs and things that begin and complete in a really, really satisfying way. So yeah, just you know, incredible series. And yeah, I do honestly like really hope that it does grab you, because if it does, you'll have you know, an amazing time with it.
Now, if I wanted to be a piece of crap and skip to the second one, I know that because I've tried that in the past, it lets you autofill or like create what happened to your character in the first one and carries those choices over. Would you recommend that, or is there stuff in that first game that I need to experience and not jump over to that second one?
Yeah, I think for sure. I think because it is a very unique game in that your choices carry on, there is a huge amount of personal, you know, attachment you get, not just to the characters, but to the entire story. And there are some huge choices you make in the first game that impact the second and third, and really also chisel and build your character and how they act and how you perceive your own character as well, and all your other characters too. So absolutely, I think it's worth getting through. If it doesn't grab you, I think it may be worth, I don't know, you know, like you were saying earlier about looking up like lore for things, maybe trying to just find like a kind of Mass Effect lore just like up to the first game, and try and, you know, get excited for that. And yeah, it can be rough. Even the remake, I think the AI in particular is very, very rough, very difficult to get on with, but it's not a very long game. If you you know, don't worry too much about the side stuff and you just rush through the main quest, you can be done with it in like under 10 hours, I'd say. So it's not very long, and also, even when you rush through it, you will eventually end up getting really engrossed in the story, because there are some just excellent bits in it. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend skipping it personally, just because although the second Mass Effect game is, you know, in and of itself probably one of the best action RPGs I've ever played, it's a huge part of like how engrossed I got into it was because of how personally attached I already was to the game and the story and the universe and all the choices I'd made in the first game.
Gotcha. Well, I'll give it another shot this week. I think I spent maybe, you know, an hour and a half jumping into that first one. I gotta give it a shot, and hopefully next week I'll be able to put in another 10 or 20 minutes or whatever into that first one.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
we'll see. But yeah, I've been playing that. You know, with all the talk of God of War coming out, because it just came out on PC this week, I didn't play it on PC because I already own it on PS5, and decided to just boot it back up again, did the new Game Plus version of it, and now there's that 60 frame per second mode in there. And I'm just remembered how much I love this game. It's just so beautiful. The combat's so fun and addicting. You know, the performances are nuts. The environment is so crazy beautiful. I'm just in love with this game again, but more so because I didn't want to have to buy it again on PC for a game that just runs really well on PS5. You know, really, I just wanted the 60 frame per second mode. Yeah, you get higher textures and stuff. That's cool, but I'm fine replaying it. But do you have any interest getting in this on PC or just playing it again on PS5?
Yeah, it's definitely a game I want to probably replay. I never got all the trophies on it, so that's a good reason to go back, as well as is playing it again for in time for the second game. Although I think it did do a very good job of. I most games I play, like Horizon Zero Dawn, where I just forget everything that happened in it. For some reason, I can remember God of War really, really well. So I don't think I necessarily have too much of a need to play it again, but I would definitely like to, especially with the PS5 upgrades, and same for like Days Gone, which similarly because of the PS5 upgrades, I'd love to go through that again. So yeah, I think perhaps I'll definitely give it another shot at some point, depending on how the backlog behaves and whether on, and also I'm sure we'll talk about it later, but whether this new PlayStation subscription service starts and just absolutely ruins my backlog even more.
Yeah. Yeah, I also wanted to, because there's the conversation online with the PC version, but my buddy Gavin, who I do the Plastic Cards podcast with, he's playing it on PC for the first time. And I'm really excited for him to get to experience a lot of these PlayStation games, because he's just hasn't been able to participate, whether it's Uncharted 4, Last of Us, and Last of Us 2. He's missing on all these crazy good games. So finally he can dip into Horizon, which he tried. I don't think he finished, but God of War has been really on his radar, so he can finally play it. So I just want to get his take in real time as I'm playing it too. But yeah, I'm just excited people can play this now. I did pull up some of the news on just the sales on Steam alone. So this is from Benji Sales on Twitter. God of War on Steam peaked even higher today for concurrent players. It's the first PlayStation Studios game to reach 70,000 concurrent players. So God of War has 73,000 concurrent players at the moment. Horizon peaked at 56,000, and Days Gone with 27,000 concurrent players. So it's been doing really well, and it's just great. And like, I see a lot of conversation online of people even pushing further, saying like, why not have these games released day one on PC? I really don't think it eats into PS5 or PS4 sales at all, because they're just like different. They're different platforms, different players. I think that a lot of people who are playing on PC are going to play there exclusively, and same with console players, where they're just going to stick with their console, and it's not going to eat into those sales. And I'm fine with them releasing day and date, but what do you think of them pursuing that?
Yeah, I think it probably boils down to it probably means that people are likely to buy it twice by doing it this way. It's similar to like the Final Fantasy ports that have recently come out, the new 2D remakes from Final Fantasy 1 to 6 that people have been screaming about for years and years to come to be done and come to console, and they were only released on phone, and those games are obviously going to come to console at some point. But what this probably means is that people are going to get sick and tired of waiting for it to come to console, buy it on their phone, and then when it does come to console, then they'll buy it there. So it's probably just a purely financial reason to just really benefit off of those people who will, like if I, for example, wanted to, get it again on PC and try and you getting a 3080, you might be like, oh, go on and let's see.
I've been thinking about it.
Yeah, so I imagine if they released it same time on both, then you wouldn't buy it twice, you'd buy it on one or the other. So it's probably just a way to double up on sales, I suppose.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. That makes more sense, that because they have the capability. It is more work, more dev time, trying to make it also work on PC. But now they're seem to be streamlined with how the PS4 and PS5 work, with just having it, being able to create a PC version. So I think it does come down to, you can make more money doing it this way, and you give, for those players that do want some kind of exclusivity with PlayStation, releases. I don't agree with that, but there's people that definitely get angry online. You satisfy those people, and then you make the PC players, really thirsty, and then they're ready for it when it finally comes out. And then those players that want to buy it again on PC, there you go. But yeah. So I mean, that makes sense when you think about it that way. It's just Xbox is going the other route, where you can buy it on PC or get it on Game Pass, and they're still top of the list with like Halo Infinite was still up there on Steam, and same with Forza 5. So that was with the Game Pass option. They're still buying it on PC. So it seems like different ways to tackle it, but you're still making tons of money. I imagine Xbox is still making money with, even though Game Pass is out there.
Yeah, and also, I mean, I just using like Gavin as an example. I don't know whether this would be true or not, but if he played through the new God of War on PC now and loved it that much that he couldn't wait to play the sequel, then he would have to buy a PS5. So
Right.
it's it's a way of enticing people into the series as well. Because it's no, God of War's been out for a while on PlayStation. There's no denying that the reason it's come out now on PC is because we are so close to the sequel.
Right. Yep. I'm glad people are playing it, and yeah, it's just gonna create more hype for Ragnarok, like you're saying. And playing this, I can't wait for Ragnarok. I'm super duper excited, and yeah, just having a blast playing this game. This game again. It's been honestly a while. Like I was looking through my saves, in 2018 was when I last stopped playing it, and I carried over. There's a Game Plus mode where you can carry over your XP, the currency stuff that you've earned, even your actual like weapon upgrades, armor upgrades. You can carry that over and just keep playing. Although you can't continue to unlock like newer abilities. So that kind of, even though you transferred your stuff over, it's like if you maxed out your character, which I did, it's like you can't really improve it that way. But I guess you can keep collecting stuff, which I'm trying to look for all those damn like the crows that are just like hidden everywhere, trying to go collect all those and all the different trinkets and stuff that I forgot. But yeah, what a great game, and can't wait to jump back into it. But yeah, Cam, we'll continue on some other news here. Some little tidbits. We got Corey Barlog says Sony's own studios push to get PlayStation games on PC, as we're talking about games coming to PC. This is from Game Informer. God of War 2018 director Corey Barlog spoke to Game Informer this week, saying, I think it was a collective of studios all over saying this is a really good idea. We should be looking into this. Eventually, I think it reached the tipping point when we had sent so many suggestion box suggestions that they were like, I'm tired of hearing all this. Fine, we'll do this. Barlog also said they had no idea if the arrival of God of War on PC might mean its upcoming sequel, Ragnarok, would jump from PlayStation to PC any faster. But this was kind of going online. How do you feel about the reason, at least publicly, why PlayStation decided to take PC releases more seriously was the studios collectively asking them to pursue this?
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's, again, for similar reasons we just said. I think you can see why people want to branch their titles out to more audiences or to more people. I think it's also just nice to have your game experienced by more and more people. The people actually at the studios don't as much as people probably think they do. I imagine they don't get involved in the weird rivalry between different platforms and everything like that. So I'm sure people just want their game to be experienced by as many people as they can.
I agree. Yeah, that's good that they, maybe if that was the actual reason, they were listening to the studio saying like, hey, we want to have it done, and they're like, they'll look into it. But that's a positive if PlayStation does have that really good connection with their studios to listen to them and actually take their feedback into consideration, but also through the machine of marketing and actually what makes business sense for them. But that's good if that really does work, that they can collectively say, hey, we want this thing done. So let's move on to the next one here. There's some drama with Troy Baker. I don't know if you follow it online. And it seems like every week there's NFT stuff, and this week there is also NFT stuff. So Troy Baker's in some heat after announcing his involvement in @VoiceFirst NFT on Twitter. VoiceFirst is a platform for audio-based NFTs, including involvement with other voice actors and celebrities. It allows creators to sell the rights to an AI voice generated by them to be sold individually to anyone for whatever use they want. So I have his actual tweet here, just announcing that he was participating in that. I think a lot of the hate he got was how he kind of crafted some of the, almost like getting ready for backlash. He says you can hate or you can create. What'll it be? But do you have any take on his joining the NFT force?
Yeah, I think it's very tone deaf and perhaps, I imagine he was probably sold an idea and perhaps he didn't do the research, or maybe he did and he just doesn't care. But I think we touched on it last week. It's difficult because people are able to come out and say things like, well, you look, isn't this a really cool idea, like being able to do this and do this, and then but then if you actually think about it, it's opening the door for so much problems and issues, not just with people's own content and how that can then be abused and stolen and shared and how the corporations can benefit massively from it as well. And there's and obviously not to mention the environmental issues it's going to create as well. It's it's a really just irritating topic of conversation, because it's I think a lot of people are focusing on a kind of paradise version of NFTs and how and the future of this. Like, how amazing would it be if we could do all this? And when you kind of look at these kind of dystopian paradises, you kind of tend to forget what this actually means and what it kind of opens the doors to in a more sort of nefarious way as well. But yeah, I think it's a shame, and I think people have every right to be disappointed, and but I think Troy Baker also has every right to enter into partnerships with whatever he wants. But like you said, the way he's worded it and the way he's advertised it like that is just asking for backlash. And it's one of those things. It's difficult to. It gets more and more difficult to be annoyed about things like this, just because you see it so often. So yeah, it is what it is. We'll just have to wait and see how it all plays out.
Yeah, it's interesting. So he did actually. So he has a podcast with Alana Pierce, Mike Bithell, and there's another person on their podcast. I forget the name, but it's a Play, Watch, Listen. I watch them every once in a while, and it's a really great podcast. So they did one right after he released his tweet, where everyone basically grilled him on his choice, and we're asking these questions that we all wanted to know. It's like, did you look into this? Did you expect any backlash? And they're pretty they were fair with their criticism of him, and he was willing to sit there and take it and talk about it. I found that really really cool to listen to, and it sounds like he didn't do enough research, which is weird, because he's a smart guy. Like, especially if you're putting your name on something, I imagine he doesn't do that lightly. But he was more attracted to the idea behind it, and like you mentioned, like the idea, at least in this case, is interesting. He says that with Voice First, they're trying to offer this AI generated voice based on a voice actor that you could then buy from Troy Baker to use in your game or whatever kind of media you're using. So say you can't afford to flat out pay him to perform for you, there's a cheaper option by purchasing this, and then you can use it in your game. And that is a cool idea. And he was trying to empower other creators that are, indie creators trying to come up and use this high caliber voice actor. That's a cool idea in itself. But then when it's tied to the NFT thing, then there's that whole laundry list of issues that come with that. There's also, and they also bring this up, where it's like, that means somebody can have you generate whatever they want you to say, like however controversial or whatever, however crazy it is. And his comeback to that was like, they can already do that. People can clip YouTube videos together. There are other AI generated programs that people can just throw your voice into it and create it. I've heard plenty of those. Like there's some, because I'm a huge TikToker lately, like just watching TikTok because my brain is melting. And so there's a lot of them on there with rappers. Like there's some kind of program where you can upload, there's like Eminem's voice, Kendrick Lamar, and they'll have them rap these verses that they've never done before. And it sounds pretty good. So there's already that software out there that could be done. And so he's like, yeah, people can already make me say whatever they want. So I'm not really worried about that. But it's just I highly recommend listening to it, because they do grill him for the same amount of questions that we'd have for him and wondering why. And he, responds to it, but he does seem to continue going forward with this. And he's getting a lot of hate, and at least he's willing to answer questions and talk about it. And, seems like if he does decide to change gears, it seems like he's willing to do that. But it's just every week there's something like this, and you think that people would understand that it's always going to be more negative than positive, but people are still jumping in.
Hey, he must be getting a nice big paycheck out of it then.
Yeah, that's might be what it comes down to. But yeah, that was just taking over the internet. We'll see, how people continue to react and how his reputation continues. I'm sure he'll be fine. Like it's, he's Troy Baker, and we'll see what happens. But
yeah, and I've seen like I see a lot of people, saying things like oh, but you can already do this. This has been around for ages and things like that. Like the AI voice thing. And yeah, I think I've seen the thing you're talking about. But the problem is, like, because those things exist, it doesn't then mean that to this, NFTs as a whole is becoming massive. We don't see games companies themselves advertising the fact that they're going to have AI voice used, or whatever already exists out there that is comparable to NFTs. So it's obviously becoming much bigger. So it's accelerating what already exists. So to kind of sit back and be like, well, look, it already exists. Why does it matter? Why is everyone getting annoyed now? And it's like, but that just because something already exists that's similar doesn't mean that you shouldn't be against something that's going to now accelerate that thing into like way bigger space. Someone like Troy Baker is probably the biggest voice actor in the world, now partnering with this AI voice thing. It's like, like Tesla, like electric cars existed before Tesla did, but people would now, if you asked, the general person on the street, they would probably think Tesla were the first electric cars. It might already exist, but this is dangerous in the fact that it's going to bring it into like a huge space and make it a lot more popular.
Yeah, I know what you mean, where the answer to the criticism can't be like, well, it's already being done. Like, I don't know what you want me to do. It's like, oh, well, what about your answer to all the issues that are tied to it? It's like, well, somebody's already doing it. It's like, okay. But it's definitely not going away. However people out there feel about it, it's something that will continue forward. And I also think it's almost like now, like the floodgates are open, where a couple of companies and people started coming out, got a lot of negative backlash. But I think because now so many people are jumping in at once, it's, for the people who are really negative on it, it's hard for them to kind of keep track of who's doing what. So now it's just like everybody's coming forward, and it's kind of pushing this as the new norm. And yeah, it's just, we'll see if it changes life to a positive way, as the people that our proponents think it is, or if it's going to, be the next thing that's also bringing the world down. I don't know, but it is happening. All right, Cal, move on to the next one here. We got Sony is pulling PS Now retail cards from UK retailers. So this is happening in your backyard. It's from VentureBeat.com. Gamers in the United Kingdom will no longer have the option to buy a subscription to PlayStation Now at UK retailers. Beginning Friday, January 21st, retailers in the country will have to pull PS Now cards from their shelves. This is according to messaging that is going out to stores like Game this week. But a recent report out of Bloomberg claims that Sony has plans to merge PS Now into PS Plus. The idea would make everything PS Plus while offering different tiers. The move to end PS Now subscription cards is potentially a step on the path to that eventual merging. The current rumor date for Sony's Game Pass competitor, which they're referring to, is set to launch in spring 2022. Do you think this is pretty much, confirming that this is the way they're going by pulling these cards out of retailers?
I think it's got to be. I think it's weird that they've done this before announcing anything. It's kind of, they're kind of like doing it just like hoping nobody's watching. I think it's obvious it was gonna happen. I think PlayStation Now is definitely, it's a great service, don't get me wrong, but it's never in the conversation anymore. So I think it makes sense to just merge it and sort of see what they can do there, and then have maybe like a tiered system for PlayStation Plus membership, similar to how Xbox do it. We'll see how it works. And but yeah, it's definitely odd to kind of remove these things before we even know what's going on with it.
Yeah, it's strange, and I think they're just getting ready for this eventual announcement. There's also rumors, nothing concrete, but people keep saying online that February might be the next big PlayStation stream announcement, so maybe they could announce it there and then get ready for that spring launch of the service. But the next couple of articles that I have ready all relate to this possible service. But so we have PS5 backwards compatibility for PS3, PS2, and PS1 games teased in patent. This is from PlayStationLifestyle.net. Renowned Sony engineer Mark Cerny has reportedly filed a patent that would seemingly allow the PS5 to play older games via backwards compatibility. Specifically, the patent describes a method to change the clock frequency of a console's hardware. This would allow the newer system to run an application that is meant for an older version of the system by synchronizing the processor's operations, potentially making the PS5 backwards compatible with the PS3, PS2, and original PS1. Cal, if they can nail this, and there's other article or stuff that's been happening today that seem to confirm it's happening, how do you feel about them finally bringing backwards compatibility, whether it's streaming or digital download or like actual disc support?
Yeah, it's very exciting to if we can get this. I mean, I think I've said before, having one of the new gen Xboxes fairly recently has made me realize how nice it is to be able to just buy anything really. I mean, I can go on and I can buy an original Xbox game, a 360 game. Both those generation games also included on Game Pass, so it's very like empowering, to be able to choose from that many generations. It's definitely, my opinion's definitely changed on it. I used to, be of the mind that, if you want to play a PS3 game, then just get a PS3 or whatever. But I think now, I've kind of realized how that's kind of a pretty stupid take. And it's definitely nice, especially when you have things like FPS boost and things like that to just enhance the games. It's great for everybody if they can work this out.
Yeah, and it is increasingly hard to do that, to go that route of, just buy a PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, and the disc. As those things become more rare and the actual media becomes more rare, it's just super hard to do. And, that's what I've had that same idea before. It's like, and I've collected those over time and I still have them if I want to play them. But it's so much easier, and Xbox has shown that, where if you can just download the game or stream it through Game Pass and their service there, it's like, it's so much easier. And then you're having people buying these games again, which would, benefit Sony as a company. So it's like, why not? But I get it. It's more of a technical issue, less likely with the PS1, PS2, but the PS3 has that damn cell chip, which makes it hard to put anywhere else besides the PS3. Seems like they've understood how to now move those over. I don't know how the adjusting the clock speed fixes that, but that is the scuttlebutt. That's what this patent is referring to. But as far as this morning today, so I have this tweet from Andy Robinson, and he's from VGC.com, saying PS3 game listings have started appearing on the PS5 store. So they're up there. I don't think you can purchase them yet, but it's already starting to move towards supporting PS3 games, which is the hardest ones in the backlog to bring over. So it might be happening very soon that we can start to play this entire backlog, maybe just digital only. I don't know, but at least that's something.
If it's digital only, because then I won't be regretting getting the digital PS5.
True.
Because that's how yeah. I mean, I'm already feeling it with the Xbox. Not being able to go out and buy like a 360 game or an Xbox game,
right,
or anything like that. So hopefully for me, then at least I won't have to sort of regret not getting the disc version.
Yeah, and I think they'd have to support both physical and digital because, I mean, you have now a SKU, a type of PS5 that only functions on this, only functions digital, and you have the PS3 games showing up on the PS5 digital store first. So it seems like maybe they'll only even like support that and not actually having the disc being read on the PS5. Maybe that's more of a technical hurdle with the equipment that's in the PS5 not being meant to read these older discs. Maybe that's the way that they'll actually pull it off. But it's exciting because there's some PS3 games that I do, think about playing every once in a while. And I think with a lot of people, PS2, PS1 games. So I'm very excited. And it seems like it's all happening very soon.
Yeah, and I think you'd have to imagine it would work. I mean, I could be, completely ignorant here, but with the PS3 using, and at the time it was quite revolutionary, the fact it had a Blu-ray drive. So using Blu-ray discs, and of course that's been the format that we've all, kind of headed into now, and it's replaced DVDs and everything pretty much. So hopefully, PS3 games being on Blu-ray discs should make life a bit easier in that respect. But I could be completely talking out my arse there.
That's what we do here, Callum.
Yeah.
All right, Callum. Cool. Well, we'll keep watching that. We'll get the next one here. PS5 shortage has reportedly... I'll back up here. PS5 shortage has reportedly led Sony to make more PS4s than initially planned. Nailed it. It's from IGN. To deal with the ongoing global PlayStation 5 shortage, Sony has allegedly decided to produce more PlayStation 4s than it had initially planned to help fill the supply vacuum and keep gamers within the PlayStation ecosystem. As reported by Bloomberg, sources say Sony has told assembly partners that it is planning to produce PS4s throughout 2022, despite having plans to discontinue assembly at the end of 2021. This strategy would add roughly 1 million PS4s to help with the fact that it can't produce enough PS5s due to the global chip shortage. Callum, how do you feel about more PS4s out there in the wild?
I think, considering we've got a year of some big PlayStation titles coming out like Horizon and God of War, both on PS4, you'd have to expect that there's people, like we were just saying now, especially with those two games in particular, that have maybe played these games for the first time on PC and want to play the sequels. So The only way they'd be able to do that if they're predominantly a PC player would be to get a PS4. So I imagine that will fill that gap, and then all the other people as well who are just looking to buy or get into the PlayStation ecosystem for whatever reason. At least it gives them some way to do that. And we've mentioned before the games like Horizon, and I'm sure God of War look fantastic on PS4 anyway, so it's not like these people are really going to be massively missing out. It's kind of like just a means to an end, I suppose.
Now we have this current year that we're in right now does have that backwards compatibility or support with PS4 games. You mentioned God of War and Horizon confirmed to do that. There's Gran Turismo. But going forward after that, Insomniac even mentioned that their next Spider-Man, Wolverine, seems like it's only PS5 going forward. So do you think this extends that into like the actual dev support with these older games going backwards compatibility? Do you think we're going to see that extend a bit further, or is there still kind of a cutoff time, maybe 2023, where it's kind of only PS5 for these first-party studios going forward?
Yeah, it definitely gives them a difficult choice to make, but I guess a lot of these games might already be in the pipeline, so I guess these decisions will be getting looked at. But it's definitely going to make life difficult, but also hopefully they could have perhaps predicted this as well and kept their options open.
Yeah, it's interesting. The selfish part of me wants, more exclusive PS5 games just to see the potential hardware stuff they can squeeze out of it. But we're seeing Horizon look dope, and playing Spider-Man Miles Morales on PS4 still looks great. So, the more people they can play, the more software sold is great. So we'll see how they deal with this. And I don't know if the chip shortage is coming down, becoming any easier anytime soon. But it seems, at least for this next year and possibly 2023, it's not getting any easier. So we'll see how that goes. All right, Cam, we got the next one here. PSA, an early version of Horizon Forbidden West has leaked. Beware of spoilers. This is from IGN. Last Monday, a number of images apparently taken from a leaked copy of the PS4 version of Horizon Forbidden West began making the rounds online. In a report from VGC, sources said that aside from some missing art assets, the leaked version of the build is authentic and contains all of the core content planned for the sequel's final release, meaning that spoilers could soon follow. Horizon Forbidden West officially launches on PS4 and PS5 February 18th. Cam, have you seen any of these spoilers? Are you seeing some of the stuff online, or are you just avoiding it all in general?
I did see that there were spoilers out. I'm not too worried just because I can't actually remember anything much about Horizon in terms of the story, but I will be watching a recap in preparation for it. So yeah, I'm not too concerned. I'm not normally too worried about spoilers. I know we were talking about Expanse earlier, and I'm perhaps more worried about that because it's like the final series of something. But when it comes to games, I'm not too worried about spoilers massively. So I'm not too scared, but it'd be nice to not see them.
Yeah, same. And I guess a game with that's like a Horizon where the story wasn't so impactful, where if I saw something ahead of time, it'd be ruined for me. But say like something like The Last of Us 2, that's so story heavy, it's like I didn't want to see anything. And there were also leaks with that game. But if I saw something with Forbidden West, I wouldn't know what point it takes place unless they reveal something absolutely crazy. They go to space or whatever. It's like it's gonna be fine. It's robot dinosaurs. It looks beautiful. Then I'm fine. I think I'll be okay. But I haven't seen anything on Twitter or anything like that. I definitely haven't been seeking it out. But I just don't see the point of doing this kind of thing. It's like, why do you want to ruin this for people? What sad individual likes doing this? But it happens with every large game where it seems to leak at least in images, but this is like the full-blown footage and gameplay that's online.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know why people do it either, but I guess maybe for like 5 seconds of fame or something like that. But
right.
But yeah, it's a shame that people are doing that. But yeah, I think like you said, not so much for me that I think Horizon has a weak story or anything. In fact, that was the main thing I loved about it, was the kind of mystery of the world that you're in, and how Aloy doesn't know the world she's in as well, and you kind of figure that out together. And I think now that that's been largely resolved in the game. I don't think there is much that can be spoiled. To be honest, I imagine that a lot of it's going to be new stuff that we haven't even been introduced to yet. So by seeing a screenshot or by seeing something like that, it's probably difficult to know it's a spoiler until we start playing it anyway.
Yep, I'm very excited for this game. I'm watching footage, have it posted up right now as we're talking, and I kind of can't believe that the game is going to look like this. Apparently it is, but it's just so beautiful and like crazy highly detailed. Like, how does it run at all if not on like a 3090 or something? But I'm just super duper excited because this looks amazing, and yeah, I can't wait. Good luck to the PS4s out there that are still like the OG PS4s that take off into flight. Good luck to those that are going to be running this game, but apparently it still runs on those. It's just going to be tough, but yeah, I cannot wait for this game.
Yeah, just put your PS4 in like a little cubby so it can't leave your house.
Yeah, just block off all air that could also come in and cool it down. There you go.
Yeah.
Or sit on it and kind of hover and you feel like you're in the future.
Yeah.
There you go. All right, Con, we got some rumors here. Rumor, MotorStorm director joins Firesprite to direct Twisted Metal reboot. We were talking about this a couple weeks ago. PlayStationLifestyle.net has the article. MotorStorm game director Matt Southern has joined Firesprite Games as a game director on an unknown title. However, as Southern has left Lucid Games, rumors are that he has joined Firesprite as game director on the Twisted Metal reboot that was transferred between the two studios at the end of last year. Southern had been working at Lucid Games since 2019 as a game director on their free-to-play vehicular combat title Destruction All-Stars. The studio had also been reported to have been working on an unannounced first-party flagship AAA IP for the PlayStation 5 that many had claimed was a Twisted Metal reboot, but this was suddenly and unexpectedly transferred to Firesprite at the end of the year. Do you think there's anything here with this possible franchise being moved from the directors or the game Lucid Games? Sorry. Do you think it's any drama here being transferred from them to Firesprite? Is this maybe something that happens? But how do you feel about Firesprite taking over possibly this Twisted Metal reboot?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think we spoke about it recently, and we're kind of sort of umming and ahhing about the success of what was it called?
Destruction All-Stars.
Yeah, Destruction All-Stars, and then moving on to something as big as Twisted Metal. So I mean, I don't think that necessarily means anything, but yeah, I guess these things do happen, and hopefully it's in a good state, and or more importantly, it's in good hands, and it has good support and everything. But yeah, of course, these things happen all the time. And yeah, just hopefully I'm sure we'll see it at some point. It's too big of a game to just get rid of if things don't go well, if there's any stumbling blocks or hurdles or anything. So I'm sure we'll see it. And MotorStorm's a great game series, especially in the early PS3 days. So to have that influence is a good thing as well.
And I would love to see MotorStorm come back. I mean, that was a really cool series, really, really beautiful, a great way to show off the power of the PS3, and it just hasn't been around since then. So it'd be really cool to see that property come back. But having those same people involved with MotorStorm working on Twisted Metal, I think they could kill it as well with just the destruction that happens in that game. It's more linear. You're right. You're racing, and Twisted Metal is more of like an open landscape that you're moving around and then shooting each other. I think Firesprite could have. No, I'm thinking of Lucid. Lucid could have done a good job too. Like Destruction All Stars wasn't for me, but you could see the bare bones of Twisted Metal that could have possibly branched off from that. But yeah, I don't know if it's better or worse now in these new hands, but it seems like at least Sony cares enough to keep this thing alive and move it to the best group to tackle it. All right, Cal, we got the next one here. Final Fantasy 14 sales to resume January 25th. It's from TheVerge.com. Last night, game director Naoki Yoshida wrote on the Final Fantasy 14 website that Square Enix will resume digital sales of the popular MMO on January 25th. Final Fantasy 14 grew so popular with the launch of its latest expansion, Endwalker, that the queues to log into game servers were thousands of people long and took hours to get through. Servers were so congested that in December, Square Enix suspended the sale of digital versions of the game. Yoshida also announced expanding an existing servers or existing servers, as well as new data center for Aussie and New Zealand players who previously had to sign on to Japan servers, and is waiving the $18 fee for users transferring to a new server. Callum, this is a big deal. I think it was over the break that they stopped sales because it was all, pretty much so successful that it stopped sales of this game because the servers were so congested. Now there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and they're going to get new players back in. But how do you feel about the success of this, and do you have interest playing Final Fantasy 14?
Yeah, it's I think firstly it's a nice problem to have, isn't it? Your game's so popular that you have to stop people from buying
Right.
it. But yeah, I've dipped into it before. Obviously, I'm a big Final Fantasy fan, and I think a Final Fantasy MMO is pretty cool because there's lots of room for it to reference things across a series that's otherwise unrelated in each entry. But it's just, I think MMOs are difficult for me to just get on with. I think out of all MMOs I've tried, Final Fantasy 14 definitely seems to be the best one by quite a measurable distance. And I think that, its popularity shows that. I think the way people talk about it in such high regard is also proof of that too. But yeah, I just don't think the genre is for me. I just don't think I have the time to put into it, especially when you look at all the games that, all the other games in my backlog that I want to play. But yeah, it's a shame because I've heard such brilliant things, but I know that a lot of the brilliant things come slightly later on in the game as well, in the kind of later expansions, and I just don't have the time to get that far, I don't think. But yeah, it's great to, it's always great to see it doing well, obviously because of how it started off, and to go from a game that was pretty much destroyed because of how badly it was received to becoming so popular that they had to stop people buying it. I think it's quite an incredible story.
Yeah, it's nuts. And yeah, good on them, and they're working on servers and expanding that, and some good news for those Final Fantasy nerds out there. So I got the next one here, Callum. Xbox boss Phil Spencer wants your banned players list to follow you everywhere. This from PCGamer.com. Xbox boss Phil Spencer recently spoke to the New York Times about the state of the industry, and a big topic was harassment. Spencer made it clear that Xbox doesn't see itself as a free speech platform, and understandably detailed the current processes and how Xbox accounts allow Microsoft to be pretty comprehensive when it chooses to wield the ban hammer. This outlines Microsoft's current attack against online abuse within their platform, but Spencer goes on to imagine a future with cross-platform bans. It says, quote, "Something I would love us to be able to do," Spencer says, "this is a hard one as an industry, is when somebody gets banned on one of our networks, is there a way for us to ban them across other networks?" Callum, we talk about trolls all the time. How do you feel about these companies unifying to create some kind of cross-platform ban when someone is being an a-hole online?
I think it's great. I think for me personally, I think a lot of people get a bit too hung up on the whole people can say whatever they want thing. People don't go to play games to get abused. I don't think it should be seen as a platform for free speech. I don't think that's that should ever be the case for these kinds of things. They're first and foremost there to play games, not to express your opinion. So if you want to express your opinions and free speech, that's what the internet is there for. That there are platforms to do that. So yeah, I think it's a good idea to try and cull these kinds of people from the games we play, and I think the harsher the better.
Yeah, it's interesting where I think at face value, the idea of saying it's kind of a maybe controversial statement, but Phil Spencer saying that they don't see themselves, Xbox, as a free speech platform might bring people up at arms because, okay, you're going to limit what people can say or control what they can say. But they are a private company. We have that argument online all the time with like Twitter, Facebook, when it always comes down to when you're hateful. I mean, you can say whatever you want on there, but when it becomes hate speech or you're targeting someone or attacking someone, then it's like there's just no place for that. And they have this ability to control what's going on. Maybe that opens the floodgates to other stuff that they can control the conversation, but I don't think that's going to happen or what's happening. It seems to be targeted for hate speech and people that are just being a-holes, on these platforms and in chat rooms. And I support that, and they have that ability to do that. And you're correct where it's like you can go elsewhere if you want to be crazy and say whatever you want to say. but there's also, with that free speech that everybody wants, there's repercussions to that. So if you want to have this platform where you can say what you want on there, but the repercussions are you're going to get banned for crossing those guidelines. So it's like there should be, as in the real life, there should be these repercussions for saying whatever you want to say. So I agree with that. And it makes people feel more safe and, accepted online, and being in these chat rooms and being a part of this community. It's like, that's a no-brainer, and I would support that for sure.
Yeah, I think as well, it's obviously a very complicated topic, especially when you look at things like Twitter, which is literally there. It's like a micro blog to say what you're thinking. So I think when you get to that, I know that obviously if it's a private company, it's different, but it's still, it's difficult to, because then you have to get into the weeds of, well, what is hate speech? What is this? What is right? What is wrong? And all this kind of thing. And that's where it gets a bit muddy and difficult to kind of defend and everything. But on a games console, why should anybody ever express a hateful opinion ever on a games console? You're there to play games. If you're playing a multiplayer game on microphone, then you're there to talk with your teammates and to try and play the game. There's just I don't know why it should be ever, a free speech platform. It just doesn't make sense. It's not a place for expressing opinions. It's a place for playing games. So yeah, it makes complete sense to me. I think he was correct in coming out and saying that. And I think it's a brave thing to say, because I know that a lot of people, as soon as just the words free speech are said, people just come out in arms about being like oppressed and all this rubbish. But yeah, I think it's pretty like obvious that a games console isn't a free speech platform. Why would it be? It's not a platform of speech at all anyway. It's a place to play games, and sometimes you play those games with other people, but at the end of the day, you're still playing a game with that person. You're not having a debate. You're not expressing your views to the world through those games. So yeah, I think it makes complete sense.
And I would like to see, if this is implemented, hopefully it's enough to scare people that want to come at this from an attacking kind of way, where because I've seen plenty of like stills, and then just people post about how they'll end a game, and it's always, like Call of Duty or Halo or something, and someone decides to follow them and send them a private message saying, criticizing them how they played or attacking them, but like taking time out of their day to do that, to attack this person. It's like, there's got to be repercussions for that. And hopefully this would scare people enough to like not do that, to not be a-holes. It's like, if you want to have this courtyard where we can all play the same game, that's cool. But if you start punching kids, it's like, you got to go. It's like, that's a fair thing to ask. That's like the bare minimum. It's like, then people can't follow that rule. Okay. And if you can see the level of what you're risking is so big, that would hopefully stop you from being an idiot on there.
Yeah, it's just, everyone's just are basically grown babies.
Yeah.
It's like when you see like a little kid playing with a toy, and they're like being, they might be hitting somebody with a sword or something, like a toy sword or something, and you take the sword off them, and then they kick up a fuss, and it's like,
right.
And it's just the same thing. It's exactly the same thing. Like, people have the same baby brains, it's just unfortunate that they never get to kind of grow out of that.
Yeah, it's annoying, and that's the internet in general. And it's also tied to anonymity, where you can kind of hide behind, a weird thumbnail, or people just don't know who you are. They're not saying it to your face, so they feel like they can just get away with it and say whatever they want. But I'm hopeful that something like this would scare people away enough to not do it. I'm sure they'll find, that's one thing. It's like, they're super intuitive, although they're really dumb at the same time, but these trolls are super intuitive to find the next thing to go and follow you and hate you on that. So it's just always going to be this cat and mouse chase that goes on. But hopefully this is enough to scare people from doing that. Well, Callum, we got it. End of the show here for the news stories. We can end it there. Where can they find you online?
I'm on the free speech platform that is Twitter at Bear Monroe.
Awesome. You keep up with the show as well on Twitter at PlasticArtPod. That's it for us this week. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.